What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. I'm trying to settle in over here. Let's send this stream to the chat. Let's make sure that people are. There's already one who was here. What's up? What's up? Here, just announce it to my everyone. Okay, we are here. Check the chat over here. Cool. What's up, guys? Okay, so we're gonna be learning how to draw the figure without anatomy. And that's Kieva. What's up, man? So we're actually learning how to draw figures today. So, like, did you know that you can actually animate and draw characters without learning anatomy? So in this video, I'm basically showing you specific techniques that animators and storyboard uses in their workflow, and which is called the shorthand. And we're going over the basic stuff that you need to know, to establish this technique. So, Dream Infinity Review. Hello, sir. I will asking something how to start drawing animation, and if you have any kind of information, tell me, please, sir. Well, that's what we're actually doing right now. So I'm like, we're doing some sort of lesson right now on how to draw and animate characters. But you have to first establish how to draw the figure, because if you want to draw characters and animate characters, you need to know how to draw the characters that you will be drawing. So first and foremost, I want to kind of like establish the fact that there's key points in drawing the human body. And I want to focus first on proportions, and proportions can be quite like a topic in and of itself. But the very first thing that we need to remember is that the characters that we draw are based from the way we measure height and proportion is through head count, right? So a typical male, let's draw a typical head over here just to trace. I want to cut his head off, to be honest. Right here. That's his head, right? And we just simply copy that and make sure that we have some sort of measurement here. We can see, wrong shortcut. We can see that this character is about, if we measure from there to about here, it's about 7 to 8 heads, right? If you really wanna, like, around 7 to 8 heads, which is a typical male character, right? let's put here 7 to 8 heads. Typical male character, right? And if we do the same for the female over here, just and we're only doing rough, right? A rough measurement for us to understand where we are at, you know. Let's do the same. Now we can see that our character, or like our female character over here, is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5 to 7 heads. 2, 7 heads. This is basically that. I am students, I can't buy any paid course, just try to learn YouTube and free anything, but this is not anywhere, is full course in YouTube, very tough and confusion. Yeah, I mean, you gotta, if you cannot buy a course on animation, then you just have to make sure that you do your best to learn from YouTube, you know, like you can't blame the YouTube creators, it's free after all. So anyway, so female characters would typically have 6.5 to 7 heads. Let's repeat that, okay? So male characters would typically have 7 to 8 heads in total, right? This is, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a bit, you know. And then we can, and the female characters would have the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 6.5 heads. That's the typical proportion, right? Again, it can vary depending on style. It can vary on a lot of other things, you know, like if you have a kind of like a young child, their characteristics, their head size would be a lot less, right? You see, if I try to draw a child over here with a proportion of like a child, you know, this looks correct in a way because I'm drawing a child, you know, or a kid. So this kid would have some sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 head total for a kid, you know. So that's one thing you have to remember. 4 head size, 2, 3, 4. Alright, sir, but frame by frame drawing animation, any course in YouTube, your channel very good. Thank you, Dream Infinity Review. Thank you so much. But anyway, so let's move on from that, and this again. Next thing I wanna kind of like do is that basically if you think about this height over here, and the middle point of the body would often lie on the crotch area, right? This one is equal, roughly, not all the time, but roughly, right? Depending on where you measure your crotch area, generally this is equal, right? Now, like over here, obviously I'm eyeballing where the crotch area is, and this may be a little bit less, but that is the midpoint of the body. Midpoint of the body, right? Um, and then another thing we wanna remember is that the hands line up perfectly with the crotch area over here. So your hands would roughly be around that area. So if you can find your like midpoint of the body, that's where your hands would be if you're standing straight and your hands are hands crotch area. Right? And basically the elbow over here, elbow would be where this rib area ends, right? So if we draw a rib area over here, that's basically where our elbow is going to be at. The bottom of the rib is where our rib area is gonna go, right? Elbow. You get it. And then the knees are actually, we go the knees over here. All right. It's actually at the midpoint of the whole leg. If we start our leg over here, the leg doesn't start here. The leg starts here because, like basically you're doing a V shape over here for the pelvis, but more on that later. This is another midpoint area, right? So it's in the middle. So, but if you include the feet, basically, if we only include the lower leg up to the top leg, right? If we go here, we put it here, and you will only include this one. This one won't be equal anymore, and basically this won't be a little bit less. Lower leg, right? This will be a little bit less than this one, right? A little bit, a little bit smaller than the upper leg, right? Smaller than upper leg. I am beginnings what I do for drawing, improve for animation. I'm telling you what you need to learn, bro. I'm telling you right now. I'm teaching, so you have to listen. I don't know, like you can chat all day long. If you don't listen with what I'm trying to say, you won't get anything. But we're getting there, right? So another key point that I want you to remember when drawing the figure is that men will have a wider shoulder than their hips, right? Wider shoulder than their hips, and it forms a shape like that. And then the female is the opposite, right? Like even though this character or this model seem to have like almost equal, or if not like a little bit wider shoulder, you can see that the hips of the woman over here is wider than the men when compared to their shoulder, right? This is where you kind of like determine like different body types at this point, but generally their women would have a kind of like a bigger hip than men compared to their shoulder, right? So they have a more of an hourglass shape if you think about it. It's the same shape, right? But a little bit more different, you know? Almost same, just slightly different. So, these are just general key points, right? We started with these two heads over here, right? And then let's just put this on here. So we started with, these are general key points, you know, that we kind of determine, you know, and basically that's what you have to remember. Again, you're not tied into these rules and whatnot depending on the design of your character. Do you think tracing over bodies like what you're doing would help me get better? 100%. 100%. Like people are like, is like there's a lot of ways to improve in drawing, but if you are like, if you're just gonna copy blindly and just rely on trying to understand what is happening in your drawing without you having a reference, like it would somehow, your observation skills would lack. You know, one thing I always kind of like doing is kind of like master studies like this. Like I'm showing you how to study this character, this human body in proportions, and I'm tracing over it, right? I like personally, like I wouldn't be able to kind of, if I don't have this one and then I just kind of like try to draw this figure, I wouldn't be able to make realize the key points that I'm making because I'm not seeing it on top of a reference, you know. So that is 100% something you can do, but you know, like tracing over is not a bad thing. It's like you are studying, who cares, you know, like you are doing this study for yourself, right? Like you are trying to get better. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But now let's go over, right? How to, this is a baseline on how to draw the human body. But now I want to show you the different ways to draw the human body, which is, as you can see in my like this kind of like thumbnail, we have 4 ways I'm gonna show you today to draw the human body without learning anatomy. And these are very, very, very simple that you can do as long as you know what you're doing, right? So let's go over the very first one, which is the skeleton, right? The skeleton is basically one of the most simple that you can do, and this is probably level 1, right? And you know, like it almost resembles a stickman figure, right? It almost resembles a kind of like a stickman figure over here. Stickman figure, and it's considered as because we have like simple shapes for the head, the ribs, and the hips, right? And the rest are the arms and legs will just be lines. Um, you know, this is very very simple to do, and the key points that you wanna ensure that you understand are basically this kind of like the spine, which is almost follows the action line over here, the shoulder tilt, and then the hip tilt. You can put the hip tilt over here. So spine, or like, I wouldn't call it spine, I would say action line, right? And then the shoulder tilt, and then the hip tilt. Those are the key points you have to remember, right? Key points. Now, these are very important to create dynamic poses, as you can see on these models that I'm showing you right now, right? So let's go over how to draw the human figure using this technique. Let's start with this model over here, right? We're gonna go over simple drawing pose over here. So now when drawing with this technique, we can start with a simple head shape. Actually, I like let's do black one. Okay. So I like to use a simple round, a simple round head like that. You can use an egg or a circle, it's up to you, but the very important thing is just use something simple, right? I'll just put the eyes over here and the mouth, like very very simple, like just dot and whatnot, right? And then I use that for and then I remember the direction of the face. It's a little bit up over here. You can add the ears just to kind of like show that she's like looking up. So I can determine the direction of the face with a simple drawing like this. And then I draw the spine, right? So I draw the spine up until the crotch area. So over here, if you look at this character or this model, she's actually kind of like from the head, like there's an S shape going on from the spine, right? It's not a straight line or like a C curve like that. It's doing something like this, right? So that is an observation you can always do, right? So if you transfer that point on the spine line from here on our drawing, right, we can mimic that, and we can even try to make that even more dynamic, right? Make it a little bit better, or like the more dynamic pose. After all, we're drawing, it's up to us, and then I determine from here like this point should follow some sort of an action line, right, that we see, like I told you guys, right? It's an S over here. Let me just redraw that, right? And then the more curved this line is, the better the pose. So, and I identify the shoulder line and then the hip line over here. So very simple. This one is a very simple pose, right? And then the hip line is right here, right? And then I connect that mm, and so for better looking poses, make sure that these two are not parallel, right? These two lines are not parallel from each other like this, right? If that is your drawing, this is an X, it should be more like that. This is correct. But again, that depends on the pose that you're doing, right? Not all the pose that you are doing is gonna be not needing this dynamic way of drawing. But if you're an illustrator, something that you have to remember is that, so like once we determine this one, that we can draw the outline of the body, right? From this one, right? We connect that over there. It's very simple, right? Creating trapezoid shapes for both the ribs and the hips. I'm showing some sort of three-dimensionality over here just to show you, like this is like facing towards us, but like that's very, you can start with this one, so, and then I'm gonna draw the arms and the legs with just the lines, right? So after that, actually I'm wrong over this one. Let's repeat that. Let's repeat this step. The hip, the shoulder line, and then the hip line over here. Right, that's more accurate. And then we can draw the arms and the legs with simple lines, right? And the feet actually, like, it's just a simple shape, and then that's it. That's your first thing. It's very simple. It's a step-by-step procedure, right? Again, there's just draw the arms, the legs. I'll just do circles and triangles for the hands and the feet. So this drawing of the figure actually, let me show you just the another way over here. You see, I draw something like a simple shape over here, and then I see that it's more like it's again an S shape. You talk to between any day, this is helpful for everyone. Yeah, thank you. So this one is the crotch area. We can determine the hip area over here. Same, kind of like a little bit. And then we can draw the legs. Right? Draw legs and arms, keeping in mind the proportion of the body. And it helps when you draw the the figure side by side with your reference, right? Another one is over here. Again, we're just doing something simple like a standing pose. I'll go ahead and make sure that this one is more of a C curve, as you can see right now. like instead of an S, right? Shoulder tilt is here, hip tilt is there, you know, maybe the crotch area is right there, and then we can just do that. Right? Obviously, she's hiding her hand somewhere there. You know, we can see it. But now, here's the problem with this technique. You know, here's the problem. Right now, you can see that her hands are going in this direction, and then it's like that. But, you know, if we just draw a simple line to indicate that, our drawing looks like this hand is like, we can't tell, is it like, why is it short? You know, and that is because of like foreshortening, right? We cannot really tell, especially on the limbs, like how the body, like how it really looks like when you're just drawing the stick figure, right? This is a good starting point, but it's very limited when trying to understand the three-dimensional of the body. And this is why we proceed with the next one, which is forms, right? So, in terms of the forms over here, we can definitely figure out a lot more, um, a lot more for the human body, and this is when we actually break down the human body into different forms, right? Like spheres, you know, like spheres. Hey, what's up, man? Spheres, um, cubes, and cylinders, right? Um, you know, the head could, so that's basically it. That's the most basic stuff we can do, right? So now let's go over, try to draw, you know, like a simple body over here. So here you can say that the head could be just a simple egg shape, you know, or I could use the one I used earlier. It's up to you, you know. A simple egg shape would be fine, right? And then the body will have the body would have a simple trapezoidal shape over here. Still have the like the trapezoid shape, like this one, right? But we will add forms to it. We will add three-dimensionality to it. Like for this one, we obviously can see that the body is turning this way, so we know that for sure. So which basically just we can still start with the like a simple line of action, like going like this or like this. I think this is the more of a line of action, so we can like actually see it right here. And then held, like shoulder tilt is like that. This one we can say that the hips are actually like straight, but because it's not facing in like the same direction, it's more dynamic, right? So over here we can kind of like see the hips tilting this way or something, right? And again, we can start with the simple trapezoidal shape over here. like the one we did. But over here, it's more of a box, right? Because we're already at the side view. So if we actually try to understand this one, this is where the center line of that box over here. And we can even see the behind, right? So we can break down the body into simple forms like this, right? And then we can, this is a simple trapezoid shapes, right? Now for the, we are establishing the front plane, front plane, uh, we're establishing front plane and side planes. Right? And we can just go ahead and now for the volumes, right? Now for the biggest difference, we have the skeleton is using the cylinders. And we can basically draw like a sphere to connect them up, right? Like this. And then for the hands, it's just a simple box shape to kind of just understand the forms again, right? Right? And then for the legs, obviously, they we're trying. So you see this is a box, and then we can draw the leg over here. Simple, you know. What's up, Sahil? I don't know if I already said hello, but I'm recognizing you. See, that's a simple pose, right? Um, that's the step-by-step procedure on how to do it, right? So again, let's do it. Another one over here. Again, for me, I like to draw a more egg, but not really shape over here for the head, you know. And then I can see that the line of action is something like that. So I'll just break it down over here. How, like, I'll break it down the form, right? Like, I'm trying to see where the center line of the figure is, right? And then this is where it really helps you to understand. Uh, oh, you woke up at 4:30 a.m. and see me live. Wow, dedication, bro. You see, this is where it's gonna play, right? Now I understand that this one is actually like a cylinder that's going away from me, right? So we could see this this plane a lot better, right? Right? Not all posts would have to show the both the like all the planes, right? Some of the posts don't. And for this one, you know, we can even create a more um like shapes or form for the blobs itself, right? Obviously, this one I will have to go over. And that's about it, right? Very simple. And then this one is also like a perspective. Now, like you can you can see the line of action is like that. The tilt is so dynamic that it's crossing almost like head tilt. This is the line of action. This is the shoulder line. This is the hip line, right? It's super dynamic, and this one really helps understand when we do dynamic poses like this, especially in perspective. We know that this area is below, and there's a lot of overlapping lines over here. So for this one, we start with a simple head shape, right? Right? And then I understand that I'm seeing the top view of that cube, cube, right? Or like a top view of that trapezoid, and then the side view. And I could barely see um the front plane, but that is basically it, right? And then for the hips, I could see this box over here. I could see the behind, right? The top of that hip, and then the side of that hip. You see? That is what I broke it down. This is the shape. So that means that this center line is going here. And we can just connect it like that. And there's a lot of overlaps over here if you know what you're doing, right? So again, we can see that there's some few shapes over here we can do, right? Cube, and then we don't see a lot of it, but we can see a little bit, you know. Right? And then you can focus now on the perspective, which is the feet that we see over here is a little bit smaller than usual. And we can even make this smaller too, just because we know now that it's on perspective, so it's naturally gonna get supposed to be naturally gonna get smaller, right? See, that is how I break it down, right? And here's the thing about this whole drawing characters on forms, right? The problem with this one is it's very limited. I'm not limited, but it takes time to actually do all of that stuff. It ruins the overall gesture of the pose because you're breaking down boxes. Like I feel like this one is too stiff, right? And maybe it's just my ability to draw the character, right? Lost the gesture a bit because you are breaking down the body a little bit more, like it ruins the overall gesture and kind of like time consuming to kind of like understand, but it is a very good way of trying to understand how these forms are behaving, how they are connected from each other, right? But once you have that in mind, the next way you can actually learn how to draw is called just scribbling shapes, right? And this is where like this is what I actually prefer to draw, because instead of drawing forms, right, we're not actually drawing forms, we're actually just drawing shapes, right? We're drawing shapes, and when we're drawing shapes, um, it's actually a variation of the drawing contour lines where um you are drawing the human body in one continuous kind of like line. Let me just do something like a same pose over here. It's kind of like a contour line where um you draw the body like one continuous line like that without lifting your pen, right? This is that variation, you know. But instead of doing all of that stuff, as you can see, it's like one continuous line. I didn't lift my pen at all. We're just drawing it um like shape by shape, right? We're trying to kind of like just be loose, just focus on the shapes of the body, right? One step at a time, right? So let me show you a demo of that. So for me, I usually just kind of like start with, so I understand that again, we don't deviate away from understanding the line of action, the shoulder tilt, right? And the hip tilt like that. We always have to kind of like know where these things are. Again, those are kind of like key points as I keep on saying. Um, so for me, just put it there, and then let's draw. I usually start with the head. You're right, right? That's my head shape, right? Something like if you wanna draw like some hair over there, there's another shape over there, right? Um, and then you know, I draw the body one step at a time. Like I just draw the contour of the body right here, right? Like sometimes I would basically do these scribbling shapes. Again, I'm not trying to be exact over here. I'm just trying to find the overall gesture of the pose, and if there's kind of like overlapping line over here, that's how I do it, like that, you know. And again, probably ruined the pose already, so let me just do that again. So it's hard to kind of like talk while drawing, right? See, I'm not focused on accuracy over here, and that was very quick, you know. Like I'm not very focused on accuracy. I'm more trying to just feel and see how can I improve this even more, right? Another way to kind of like do it is like with a few lines. It didn't take me long to do that, and I'm like using a lot of good shapes as well. So like let me do that again for you, you know, as I would do. And I'm not trying to also kind of like rush this process over here. I'm more trying to observe what shapes I could use to really push that um the overall feeling of the pose, right? I think scribble layout will make easy for us to get the basic reference of our character design or perspective. Yeah, scribbling. This is what I do a lot, scribbling. You know, because this this helps you um do it very fast instead of doing the forms, right? As long as you determine some sort of an action line and you understand things um properly. And this is the reason why it's a progression, right? Like while this is a lot easier, you need to understand a lot of things too, right? So you need to understand how, like, where to put the kind of like center line. So I kind of like just do the um like a center line to kind of like clearly define where the body is facing, right, right here, right? Because I know at this point the the hips are facing directly on the side view, right? So I know that, like, to clearly define the planes and rotation of the head and the body, I have the center line, right? um like you can, like, for me over here, I can do this very fast as well. Not, and again, I'm not trying to say that it should be like you have to aim for fast, you know it's not about being fast. It's about trying to understand how to draw the human body um in in different ways, right? And again, this is more gestural, meaning like this is what I learned how to do gesture drawing, right? Is through focusing shapes, you know? Like I'm not even trying to do the shapes of the each of the hand, but I could, I could. Um, eh, you see, that's very fast, Like it doesn't take me too long to do that. And if I add the center line of the hip, you know, and then one thing I also kind of like doing is that it allows me to, when I focus on shapes, right? Now you're not tied into to the actual underlying overall human body, right? You can actually do um you can actually draw the clothes from the shapes, right? So let's say if I try to draw this character or this I can kind of like loosely base the head. um Let me just, I can see, right? Shoulder. I can loosely draw the clothes and some sort of detail without going into too much detail of it, right? Like I could just do that. You see, those are just simple shapes that I'm doing that suggest that there's a kind of like a jacket that she's wearing, right? The skirt or the legs, right? You see, just a suggestion of the socks. And again, I want to reiterate that it's not about being fast. It's about being able to explore properly without losing the gesture, right? I kind of lost the gesture of the head over here, but you know, we can always just, because how fast this is, you're not trying to be careful, and you can actually just reiterate even more. And that is very important when animating, because you cannot rely on one pass of doing your animation. You have to explore, right? You have to kind of like see what works, and you have to draw a lot, not just once. If you're doing like an animation with more than, let's say, more than like 20 frames, you're not gonna do 20 frames in one go, like in one pass. You're gonna have to reiterate, and that's very important. Reiteration, right? So that's a gesture. I kind of like, so there we go. So this is actually my preferred way of drawing, to be honest with you. But I also combine it with another way of drawing the human body, which is the next one, the silhouette, which is very, very important. A good silhouette can make or break your animation. And like a silhouette can make or break your animation pretty much, right? So, like I do this in combination with scribbling shape, and we're only focusing on the outline of the body or the outline of the pose. So, um, we are still trying to do our best to capture the essence of the pose, right? So let's say over here we go on this um simple character. Let's sorry, let's focusing on just the silhouette. It, Sorry, focus on the outline of the body, right? To clearly define the silhouette, right? Outline, and then still focusing on the key points like the mm, line of action, um shoulder tilts, and then the hip tilt, and everything else that you see. Okay, so over here we can see a clear line of action right there, right? And with something like this, you can see a clearly defined um action poses right now. So if I draw this one, I try to capture just the shape, and this one I kind of like, I like to be more kind of like sketchy, or you know um basically trying to be more careful when drawing it. I'm not loose, but See, that's the silhouette. You know, we're clearly defining just the outline and a little bit of overlaps to just kind of like know like properly, because over here what you can see is that this leg is supposed to be overlapping because this is the right leg, right? So kind of like trying to define that as well should be able to help you understand the post even better, right? And the reason why this is like really good is because you can clearly see what's going on with the action, right? Like over here I could see that I just stayed away on trying to make that even better, but now it's better because you know I adjusted that, right? So that's one way. Now we can move on to another way, another silhouette, right? Yeah, again, this time you can choose to draw the clothes. It's up to you, you know. But that's not important. That's like details, right? We're not trying to do details over here. We're trying to understand how we can draw the human body um relatively quick and easy, right? Because we're now focusing on um just the shapes and seeing how these are interacting with each other. Again, I'm still focusing on shapes, guys. Like it's not like I'm not focusing on shapes. It's just I'm just focusing on the silhouettes, right? This is a lot better for me, right? And then this one is obviously you cannot see the legs for this one. Do sketch with a pencil or a brush when doing rough animation in CSP. I use the pencil, but I see everyone using the brush. For some reason, my like I'm using brush because all my settings are actually in the brush. Like I have like I have my own brush set, but it doesn't mean that it's actually a brush edgero. It's actually just a pencil that I put on the brush preset, because the button for CSP on my toolbox or on my like shortcut command is B, which is brush, right? And I think pen is for P or something else. So like it's all about the settings. So I'm not really too concerned about that. It's where you put it, right? So all of this one is actually just variation of the pencil or pen and whatever. It's not actually a brush, but it's set up in a brush because my shortcut is B, which stands for brush. I hope that makes sense. So now over here I can clearly see the silhouette, you know, of the character's head, right? Again, this is one of those things that, like, for me, like over here, it's all about trying to understand the pose, right? um and I'm getting lost on the detail a bit, sometimes when I'm doing this method, because like I'm just trying to kind of like simplify the post. That's really what I'm trying to do over here. It's not about um the details of each outline or each line that needs to happen, right? Something you have to remember that when doing the silhouette is to kind of like make sure that you are simplifying the post um to the extent that you are not really trying to draw each line, like each kind of like variation of the line like that. You're not trying to do that. You're trying to simplify it in its most basic form. Otherwise, it won't be a shorthand. You know, like it's all this one. This lesson is about drawing fast, and if your technique that you're doing is not allowing you to do that, then you know you're not you're not doing it properly. You know, so again, we're not doing any details, right? I get lost in the details sometimes. That's why I still use the scribbling shapes, you know. What's again, guys, what's important here are proportions, right? When you're drawing these things, understand that you should be following the proportions and not the details, right? So as long as you have that, you're okay. So yeah, so I have a bunch over here, silhouettes, you know. Again, I'm using references, so you know you can do this without using reference, but why would you? You know, okay. See, currently I'm learning anatomy and figure drawing so I can draw characters better. I've set out a road plan for myself so I can eventually tackle making animations from home. Sounds good, Ejiro. Like, feel free. I know we have like a community Discord and whatnot, or even a community post. Feel free to share your post. You know, um you're a paying member of my Patreon and like YouTube channel. So like I would love to be able to help you develop and whatnot. If you have questions, reach out, bro. Like I'm here to help. I know you've been receiving and you've been getting some of the files that I'm posting on Patreon and whatnot, figure drawings and whatnot. So me, Modern Day James, and Mark Brunette are the three art teachers I'm studying right now. Like, bro, come on. Like, I appreciate that so much, but those two are like level 99, and I'm just like level 7 probably. You know, like to put myself in the same sentence as them, like your learning is such an honor, so I thank you for that. I have a lot of ways to go, so like I really I appreciate you for that, I really do. um because like some creators are like they know how to animate, they know how to do all of this stuff, but I'm also trying to teach, so that's my thing, so again, guys, like there's a lot of ways to draw the human body, you know like the skeleton, right? The skeleton we went over here, forms, right? Though skeleton and forms are just very very foundational, skeleton and forms are two very foundational things that you have to remember. And one thing I want to say is that like drawing forms, right? like like you need to be able to draw individual kind of like forms like this properly, before kind of like understanding, oh, that's how it is for the human body, like, oh, that's how it's connected to the human body, right? So if I do it properly like that, that's one form. And then like a cylinder, you know I think Mark Brunette has a 30 day plan of like drawing, how to draw forms and whatnot. So you can learn from them, from him. You know, those are foundational. These are very like design fundamentals. These are fundamental ways to draw, you know. So if you know how to do this, you can do the forms, you know. Um but understanding forms can lead you to just understanding shapes. This is like for me, shapes um are one of the best ways to draw. So like I showed you like an example, right? So now what I want to do is to actually break down a character like Granny Seiko from Dandadan. We're gonna break down this character so that we can apply it to our own animation, right? So for me, the way you do it, let's say, um, is to kind of like just see the overall shapes of the character, right? You help break down real animation for beginners in a way that is easy to follow. I'm starting a studio in the future, and your content has helped me bridge so many gaps. Oh, Zeyu Tatsumaki, bro, like, thank you. Like, you guys are very nice today. Like, I don't even know how many people are watching because I have a script in front of me. And to be honest, this is gonna be a video on Friday. Like, like I'm doing a live stream, so I have like a, you know, like a recording of what I'm doing, and it's a practice for me to do the flow, to teach and whatnot. So expect a video on Friday, maybe Saturday, hopefully Friday. Basically doing the same thing that I explained today, but you guys are here, so you might not need this breakdown anymore. But like in that, I have a script that's very straightforward. So like I said, a lot of like technical things. Right now, when I'm on live, I lose my train of thought and I don't know where I am in the script most of the time. So I'm trying to find, oh, where did I stop? Where you know what I mean? So like it could be a little bit dragging, or like it might take a while for you to, oh, like what is his point when doing the stream. But when I convert it to a video, it's more straightforward. So right now, there's a lot more, again, there's a lot more complicated ways to draw the figure, and we won't go over them because the focus of this video is shorthands. And it's a technique to actually simplify the characters in the most recognizable trait, which is what we're doing right now, which is what we're doing next. And the way to actually develop your own shorthand is through practice, practicing these ways, right? But again, my way can be different from yours. Like, this is just the way I develop it over time. But though this four is such foundational ways of drawing the human body, because this four is almost like a variation of the gesture gesture drawing, right? You know, so if you can draw the body that way, that fast, like go ahead. And if you can discover ways that works for you, that is not necessarily any of the ones that I've taught, feel free. Drawing is all about your expression, but I want to make sure that you understand what we're looking at, because for me, you see, there's a lot of ways to draw a line, right? For me to draw, let's say, a character that starts with the head like this, you know, like somebody would draw this character like in one line like that, but I can also draw this character like in contour wise like this, which is what I prefer doing, right? Like, but at the end, we're not like, one is not better than the other because both drawings are just shorthands, you know, like they're not the final drawings, they're just, you're laying out the foundation for your actual drawing, which is this one, right? But we're not gonna be, let's say, what I'm trying to say over here is not, we're not gonna do a simple mannequin that represents Granny Seiko, for example, because I could do that all day. Like I could do this character without trying to break down this drawing, because I've done a lot of characters before already, and I can kind of like I told you the what I'm looking for. So if I'm just trying to understand the proportion over here, this is how I would draw her, right? But there's much more going on to her than just that, right? First of all, head count, right? How many head counts are there? And I'm using the what do you call this? I'm using the manga as my reference rather than the anime. Um just because it's a lot easier for me, and you can see that she's the same count as what I determined earlier. Like 6.7 counts, right? 6.5 head. That's her proportion, right? And then now what I want to focus are the shapes of her body. And again, I'm using this manga as my reference. 6.5 heads. Just want to make sure that I put that aside. But also while trying to stay cool, like very relatively the same as the anime, right? So um the shape, we can see the shape of the overall shape of the hair, like that. And the head, I'm trying to see. This one is a little bit goofy because it's kind of like um from the manga, right? I'm not gonna draw obviously the glasses, but I'm just breaking down the shape, right? There's a kind of like slight difference between the the shape of the head, the length of the neck, and all that stuff from the manga to anime. So I'm just gonna do the manga version for now, just to keep it simple, right? So again, after this point, it's almost like very simple, right? A lot of straight lines. Dan uses a lot of straight lines, and obviously Granny Seiko over here, um, like obviously there's a curves because she's a woman, right? But like Dan in general uses a lot of straight lines um in their drawing, right? So for me, I would love to draw a little bit of detail for the clothes, just to show that she has like that's her kind of like recognizable traits. This shape right here that you see for the clothes, that is one of the ways to break down the this is something I would implement in my drawing. Like how I simplify this shape over here will depend, like will really establish, oh, I'm drawing Granny Seiko, right? Like that is my shorthand for this thing. I'm not gonna draw this the curves and all that stuff over there. What do you call this, like the overlapping lines. I'm not gonna draw that. Like, I'm not gonna draw and do all the details for the shorts over there. We're not doing that. So, and then the legs, obviously, like you can add the curves as you want, but main thing are the wrapping lines of her. I guess this is a stocking or a sock, like you know so once we have that, we can see that this is Granny Seiko. You can see, Granny Seiko. We have a Granny Seiko over here. And like I broke it down by tracing it, right? and we can adjust again. I was talking about the height of the um the height over there, right? So yeah, so this is the height of the neck. So this is Granny Seiko, and if I'm gonna try to draw that, I'll probably try to draw the head first, and then I'm gonna add the um kind of like the shape of the, the shape of the hair, right? I'm posing her on a different pose right now. So if I'm trying to determine the feel of the legs over here. Yeah, I'm not see I'm now trying to do more of like the silhouette, right? I don't know what this pose is or something like that. But for the legs, I usually just, the limbs is where I kind of like try to deviate away from the model because I have a way of drawing limbs fast, you know. And again, that's just the base, right? You see, this is a very rough way of drawing her. You can tell that that's her through the traits that I showed earlier. If you really want to be, just add the some sort of details, but that's basically it. You know, I drew a pose of her on here. Like I could clean this drawing up a little bit, but that is basically how I would draw like a character like this. Because once I establish where those lines are, I could just erase and draw it. That is how I draw basically a character without understanding anatomy. Right now, I drew this one, and then I'm redrawing it because I already kind of like established where this leg is gonna go, so yeah, so this speeds up the animation process. Thank you, 100%. So now what I want to do is actually try to animate her using a reference, right? We're gonna be I did download the reference over here. Let me just see. Download uh I don't know if I'll have the time, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll do my best. I may not kind of like talk a lot, you know, after this one, but where's it? Videos, actors, no pictures. Yeah, here. So we have this reference that we're gonna be trying to do, and maybe we'll just start with the key. We'll see. We'll see what we can do, right? We'll see what we can do right now. So I'm gonna try my best to work on this one. Um, so I have that reference in front of me, and basically we're just gonna start a an animation folder over here. I'm gonna use my trusted um, line work and here. So let's start with establishing like some sort of a ground plane. Um, yeah, this speeds up the animation process 100%. Like I mean, I don't understand like some people like are very precious with their lines at the beginning of animation. You know, like when you are animating layouts, you're supposed to be like kind of like reiterating, like drawing fast and loose. You know, trying to explore different options, right? Um, so I just want to establish that ground line, and now I can draw like a very rough. Again, try to see if I could do this side by side. Um, so I don't forget, you know, like we have a reference, we use our reference, you know. So I have like a post right here in front of me. Where he's holding like oh god. So actually, to be honest guys, this is my first time animating such a long time, guys. Like it's been a while since I animated, so forgive me if I'm rusty. How can I get natural flow in animation? What do you mean natural flow? Yeah, by breaking down your reference. If you have a reference, like start there. That's a very vague question. What context? What are you trying to say to me? Well, natural flow, like see the wrapping lines help establish where the character is in space, and what's the rotation of each of these lines are. You see, that's my Granny Seiko first pass. Obviously, we're gonna clean her up later on, but again, it's just establishing some of the baseline for this character, especially when you're doing something in kind of like in perspective or like in actual space, right? That's one. I guess what's happening right now is I'm struggling to kind of like implement how to draw this character because like as long as like we don't need to draw the character like um properly at the very beginning like this that I'm doing. I'm trying to retrofit my teaching to kind of like follow that. right? I feel mechanical. Yeah, so like this is like I think for me it's all about um like scribbling shapes and whatnot, see what works. You see, I'm not trying to add a lot of details to the character because animation, like, like for me, it's all about trying to determine what's the flow of action first, like what works. We're gonna worry about all of that detail later on. Again, you have the option to, but like I don't like to kind of like hold myself back when you know trying to adjust all of these things right away, you know 'cause all of that will come later naturally when you are um when you're adding the character. But right now I'm just trying to establish all this stuff. You see, I'm focusing on the shoulder lines over here, just clearly defining where it is in my thing. I don't know if I'm making sense, but you know, I have a very good next pose over here, which probably will be my like another pose. Kind of like really establish. See, my feet is like still grounded in terms of like where this animation's going, and I'm still trying to kind of like see where all the details are going to go. what's your best advice approaching play around with it, man? Like right now, I'm basically um doing some sort of study, you know, as a beginner. You like, I mean, there's a lot of tutorials out there. Like, like I can't like right now. I know you're asking something, but I really can't think of something in my head aside from kind of like just follow what I'm doing kind of thing. Um, because like I'm teaching you guys exactly what you need to know, like how I'm approaching animation. You know, like I'm very loose right now. I'm not trying to be exact. I'm not trying to be clean. Like I'm very kind of like these are ugly drawings in fact. You know, like barely seeing anything. I you know, God, I love your how you actually can tell what's going on from those three key poses. Yeah, like you see, and these are not like good drawings, guys. Like, these are not good drawings. It's like shitty drawings, man. Like, but you can tell, you know, because that's where I want you to focus. It's like you don't need anatomy to draw this one, you know. Uh, able to rule of 6.5 heads. I'm not able to follow goofy stuff. Yeah, like I mean that takes practice, you know. Like over here, I don't think like this one. I don't think this follows that rule, but like it's about, you know, like trying to like the more you draw, the more you will be able to develop like some sort of oh, you know, like that is becoming more and more of my like you notice more, you notice more of like the um your way of drawing little by little. The more you adjust, and the more you do it, um is where that thing is gonna come around, you know. So I should be more kind of like careful with my lines, but I like basically exploring, you know. Sorry, this one is the one I should be. It's a lot easier to use, especially for me. Like once I establish like the foot, I could see clearly, you know. again, this drawing is not about being kind of like fast or being like accurate. It's about trying to animate um trying to animate naturally, and exploring different option and starting out without really um kind of like without basically what do you call this l- thinking what do you call this without being afraid to kind of like animate, because it's all about being able to explore um with these drawings, because I like again what we're trying to do here is not is just start, you know. Because I don't really want you guys to kind of like, oh, I can't really draw and animate because I don't know how to do this yet, you know. And in this process of like doing, we're not focused on one post. We're focused on the whole thing, and that's the reason why I'm not spending too much time in just one post. And all of these are just kind of like scribbling shapes and whatnot. This is how I actually animate. As long as I could, like, I'm happy with just having. You see, I put too much detail in here, but I'm happy with just knowing that there's a hair over here that represents her. You know, and this is just the very first pass anyway, and you can adjust these proportions as you go along. Like you see what I'm doing right now is just cleaning it up a bit. Maybe the head is too big over here. I don't know. You know? Like right now I'm not trying to kind of like see if we play that, boom. It's actually really slow, but you know. I actually make like a rough pencil animation every week. Um and I think seeing you do this inspired me to try something with human anatomy. Nice, man. Nice. See, now I'm kind of like deviating away from my reference because I'm kind of like I'm trying to establish the foothold of this um character, you know. So very, very, very strong pose. So again, you see, I started with this egg shape over here, but obviously that's not her design, right? But like now I could break down the design, you know. This is a very strong pose. Give me a second, guys. Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. My girlfriend's about to sleep, so I just said good night to her. That's all. Do you ever those exercise when you give 1 minute draw a pose? Like I used to do it. I used to do it, if I'm being honest. So those are very helpful. Um and that's basically how I learned to do this, you know? Um like like how I learned to draw this way is because of those exercises, you know? Don't like again, guys, those are fundamentals. You know, you at some point in your art career, you're supposed to be doing that, you know. So if you don't, then like as an animator, it only kind of like it restricts you because you didn't do those, you know. And also don't be afraid to kind of like explore using like non-traditional tools like um this like move and whatnot. Like I mean it makes your job easier, so like don't be afraid, man. Like people are so like you're animating, you should like use every tool that you have. Some people are very like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. And I know Japan like likes to animate on paper too, so you don't really have that one. But like well, working in the industry, like I mean, it's good to have fundamentals and kind of like understanding when and where you use it, but like no, like you're the one in control of like um doing like doing all of these things. So it's your animation, man. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah, I'm saying I use the move tools too, so it's really helpful to save time. 100%. This is a really good. The next pose is such a really good pose. You see, her body, the her body went from here to here, like the direction goes from this way, you know. I do some sort of arc right here. You see, you see that arc, things that you kind of have to know when you're animating. Kind of know, you have to know that, you know. So, um, but yeah, so turn this off. Let's just play a music right now. Uh, yeah, we've fairly visited so far. Um, J-pop music. Let's replay that one. Replay our simple. Here, I wanna adjust this one to kind of like just match that he's she's going towards us, you know, and maybe I'm doing this one a little bit like that, kind of like show that her head is still falling, you know, falling a bit behind than the rest of her body. And obviously, if we try to do that,
しくていい離さないと誓うよ先読みなんてもう終わりにして僕の手を握って少し切ないそれもまた無税な胸味 Your eyes tell me everything I need Your smile 笑い合えたら
Just trying to adjust the whole thing so that I don't lose some space on my canvas, you know. And over here, I draw kind of like in like I started drawing in feet just because I need to establish where the character is like standing. I find it very very difficult if I don't do that to kind of like match where the characters are. Um, so
ありがちなシナリオ頭の中駆け巡らせて流行る気持ちを洗い飛ばして君が歌う声に耳を澄まして Yeah 悪くはないまるで絵本のような世界正義も悪もいなくて月と星がダンスして響き合う静かな光の中映し出す無邪気に彩られたその瞳 Yeah 素朴な日々を満たす君がいるだけで Yeah 鏡越しに映る空の青さに見とれてカラフルな地図を描いてみたくて小さな君の手を重ね合わせて Hey 悪くはない
you can see how I choose what I choose to draw versus what I end up drawing is very like is very limited. Like I'm not this is the way kind of like to explore and not burn out when doing animation, you know? Because you can like I'm just establishing some sort of um I'm just establishing some sort of movement here and trying to understand like the placement of each theme.
戸惑うこともたまにはあってそんな時さえ愛しく思える静かな光の中映し出す無邪気に彩られたその瞳
Again, this is required trying to understand the reference you have. Did you go to art and how many years have you been drawing? I did not go to art school. Hmm. Well, my art degree has nothing to do with drawing. I do have an art degree and it's in interior design. So I don't count that as a um, art degree at all. Like to be honest with you, I don't. Um, um, and how many years have I been drawing? Um, I started taking it more seriously in COVID, during COVID. So it's just a little bit over 5 years, sometime around 5 years and whatnot. So you see the shapes that I'm doing. It's like super rough, man. Like super rough shapes, bro. Like you. This is what I'm saying, that you don't need like anatomy or anything like that to kind of like learn how. Like you see any anatomy on my character, like it looks like my character looks like shit. You know, there's no details at all. I'm not gonna add like you see. The thing is I'm not gonna add I'm not gonna add the details of the character because that's not the point of the video I'm trying to make. Um, it's more like oh, being able to start without realizing that you don't need anatomy to do all of this animation that I'm doing. Go again. I have to um preface the fact that I do need to improve in being more intentional with these lines. Um, I keep saying that, oh, you don't need like good drawings, but you still need to somehow um understand that your drawing should still like make sense. You know what I mean? Like you still needs to make sense in a way that it won't look um like it won't look off. Let's see. Let's play our animation. That's that's basically Let's actually play this a little bit faster because it's supposed to be technically faster. Um, Delete, and then we'll do a 4. Um, Edit trap. Um, Assign multiple cells. How many frames that I have? 19. 19 frames. Number of frames 4. There we go. 3-second animation. Let's turn off a Granny Seiko reference here. There you go. Now this is the first pass, right? This is the first pass of the animation, which means I did that a little bit. Let's see, how much did I spend on this one? Work time is 1 hour on this particular canvas. That includes the breakdown. So less than an hour, I was able to draw 19 frames. You know, less than an hour, I was able to draw 19 frames, which means technically I could draw more. And I just want to kind of like encourage you guys to explore it. Again, this is so raw. Like 19 drawings in an hour, like then you can do 100 drawings a day, but obviously it's not gonna look good. But at this point, I would probably spend a little bit more time cleaning this animation, like a second pass if I may. But this is a good base. At least I established that this is where I want to go. There would be a lot of things that I want to improve here, but obviously this is a good starting point, right? Um, Without perfect anatomy, and the story is very clear, 100%. Like 3 hits. And again, like I could play around with, like the timing and whatnot of this animation. I could reiterate and like explore more, but I could like 19 drawings in 1 hour is very very kind of, it's very fast. I did it very fast. And I'm using reference, obviously, right? So for you to be able to do this, it requires you to understand all of those things. And like for me, I'm just focused on the movements. I'm not focused on the character at all. Like I just put the head like shapes just so I could tell that it's her. It's Granny Seiko. Like so because I even have this kind of like pose over here that I could probably um like after this one, like I could probably go frame by frame on trying to like just establish a good base for this character. Just clean up, not clean up to the point of like, oh, I need to clean up the character, but like just to establish the curves and the making sure that the shapes are because I can probably add an additional layer on top of it. But like I tend to work. I started really slow, to be honest with you, because I was trying to kind of like, oh, I was trying to draw this character, but I realized I don't need to. Like for this stream, I didn't have to. Like I just need to follow the whole path of action and whatnot. So in any case, this is how I animate simple action like this, you know. Um, but yeah, like yo, Killer Cam, what's up, man? So I animated this in an hour. So a little bit hour and a half or something. Yeah, we're 2 hours and 17. It was fun, but I'm making a video on how to animate this one. So this is very basic, and I'm not going through all the details of trying to make this look, you know, good for now. So this is the first pass. But yeah, yo, Killer Calm, how are you, man? How are you doing? Before I leave, I want to chat a little bit, man. How are you doing? How's you graduating and how's life, man? It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a bit, but I hope you're doing well, brother. I hope you're doing well, man. I'm about to leave soon too, so I don't know if you wanna like just give a quick update on what's happening with you, man. But if you don't, that's fine too, man. Chilling as usual. That's what we want. That's what we want, chilling. But yeah, like I'm about to end the stream right now. Um, I'm pretty happy with what I did and what I showed you guys. Nothing too fancy, nothing too thing. Like again, somebody like one of the ways I said that, oh, you can do 100 drawings like a day. I'm talking about rough animation like this. I've just been doing this for an hour. Um, and I've done 19 drawings, 19 ugly drawings, So I could animate like 100 frame drawing, 100%. Um, but it might require a little bit more time, but you can definitely do 100 drawings a day. You know, whether it's good, looking good or not, that's really whether or not you can draw faster and make sure that your drawing's fast. But you can animate 100 frames a day. Um, it might not look like good, but you can, So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate you all. You guys are hanging out more and more. Like on this chat. Yeah, like I like teaching stuff like this. I really do. So I really appreciate everyone who's been hanging out with me. Again, this particular class, or quote unquote how to draw and animate characters without learning anatomy, is gonna be a video that's coming out on Friday, hopefully this week. Just to get the yes, exactly, just to get the gesture across. That's all. Yes, 100%. And it's not perfect as well. Like I mean, like I like I, my point is to do shorthand drawings like this. That's the whole point of the class, and we'll be like I got my footage for the like I'm gonna reuse all the footage from this stream um like for my video. So thank you, peace out. You guys can see me over here. you know yeah, I've not been looking at the camera at all. It's just the first time I've looked at the camera. If you want to see a close-up view of me, maybe we could do something like integrated webcam over here. Hello, what's up, man? Oh, this is me. That's me right there. What's up, boys? I'll see you guys next time. And like face reveal, I guess I've been face revealing myself for quite some time now, especially once we got the new place. So but I'll see you guys around. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.